Yeah, that together in the evening.
Cora does. She came up to make her bed, and so I came along to help.
Oh.
It's easier to make a bed.
That's
There's
right.
two people.
There's two.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to change her sheets.
Okay.
And Cora's going to give her a back rub. And Carol made some cookies yesterday, so I brought some up and we're going to have cookies and tea.
Oh, that's perfect.
So you girls
Cora,
get
what are you
together every
looking
day?
for?
Not every day, but we get together
Cora,
quite often.
what are you looking for?
Cups.
Cups? Well, take the
They're down
everyday,
They're
take
over
the
here.
everyday cups from up there.
I'll take these from
She's
in
going to
here.
take what she wants.
You don't have enough everyday cups, Louise.
Where are all the babies today?
Well, we had them all over at the pool, and they're went home. Annika's watching them now, so.
They prefer sister to us. She's a lot more interesting.
Well, she probably plays and
Yeah,
talks
she
to
does.
them.
It takes them out to feed the ducks.
Mhm.
They just love that. Sister, sister. And she kind of likes them liking her. Because the last few babies have preferred Caleb. And now the
He is
little
so
baby.
good with them.
He is. You
The
watch
little bit
him.
I've been around
Yeah.
him, I mean, he is so good with them.
Plays and
Yeah.
cares for him. And so Annika's kind of glad this little fellow likes her.
Now tell me about when you girls were growing up.
I have saucers, Cora, to go with the cups.
Alright.
How was it growing up in your house?
Oh, ask Louise. Ask Louise.
Growing
How was
up,
it? How was it
growing up
growing
in
up
our
at home?
house.
Yeah,
You mean on the farm?
yeah. You had
How
a lot
was
of.
it?
Yeah, you had a lot of chores, didn't
We
you?
had a lot of chores to do. There was 4 older girls, and we had to do the milking, help Papa, and the farm work, you know, the fields. And we raised chickens and pigs and cows, you know, and calves, and so we had a lot of field work to do to keep them fed. And then in the summer, we raised beans for the canning factory and cucumbers for the pickle factory, so they all had to be picked, you know.
Yeah.
So we were busy all year. Went to high school, grade school and high school.
So you learned to read as a girl?
Pardon?
When did you learn to read?
To read
Uh-huh.
in school.
When you were you about 10 or were you 5 or?
Well, I don't remember. That's
Okay.
too long ago.
Okay.
That's over 90 years ago.
I suppose.
Probably 5.
Okay.
We talked German when we went to when we started school. We talked German, and nobody could understand us, so we had to talk English. We went to a country school,
Yeah.
1 room.
Right.
And it was cold in the winter. Had a big furnace right in the room,
Wow.
and we had hot lunches at noon, often in the winter. We took stuff with us, you know, and put it on in recess time, meat and vegetables, and then cooked it. We had hot lunches. We did, our
Wow.
family.
Right on the stove? You put it right on that big
Yeah, in
stove?
the cloakroom.
In the cloakroom.
Yeah.
Okay.
In one of the little rooms
Yeah.
at the side.
Tell us about your mother.
What about our mother?
Yeah, what about your mother? How was she?
She was okay. She worked hard. She did a lot of baking. She baked bread once a week, and it was always white. And I guess in those days they didn't have whole wheat flour to buy.
Oh,
It was
okay.
always white, but it was good. And she made maybe a dozen loaves. And we had it in a big crock. She kept it. And I know she made nice hamburger buns, you know, and very good. And then we had a wash like this, you know, clothes when our youngest brother was born, she got a wash machine.
What year was that?
That was in 35.
1935.
Who were the 4 oldest girls? Mary, and then you.
Yeah, and then Helen,
Helen.
and then Bessie.
And then Bessie. You were one of the 4
That's
oldest.
one before.
Okay.
My brother's brothers were all small.
We had four us, and then 2 brothers, Herman and Albert, and then Cora and Lorraine. Cora and Lorraine.
Cora.
And then we
and
had
Lorraine.
Bob and Ed and Henry and Jim.
Henry and Jim. They were
So
the
Henry and Ed and Jim are still living.
yeah. So you
Mhm.
started out with 4 girls and ended up with 4 boys.
Yeah.
That's amazing. How wonderful.
hmm
Did you guys fight a lot?
No, I don't think so. We
Did
picked
ever
in the
fight?
summertime too.
I think the boys did their share of fighting.
In
Yeah.
the summertime, we picked a lot of raspberries in the woods, wild raspberries.
Huh.
We each had several pails fastened around, and then one on the back to fill when the front one was full. And took them home. My mama canned a lot of red raspberries in the summer.
Wow.
The wild raspberries
Wild.
aren't growing like that anymore in the woods.
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Now, how did you learn about the Lord?
Oh, we grew up in the church, knew about it, knew about him right from little on.
Okay.
What church was that?
It was Christ Lutheran. We were out in the country then. Right, the church was close to the school.
It's the church
Mile
our father
away.
helped build.
Our dad helped build a church and the school both when he was growing up.
So you went to a Lutheran school then too?
Well, no, it was just a school for whoever was around.
It was
It wasn't a Lutheran
Just
school.
a country.
country.
Country
public school.
school.
Did your dad actually come over from Germany then?
Our parents,
Yeah.
our mother was born in Germany,
Okay.
and our dad was born in Chicago.
Okay.
And somehow, in their younger days, I guess they both went to the same church, and that's where they met.
Louise, I think they came over on the same boat. Grandpa Bailing, I think, was 20, and Grandma was only 12
Yeah.
when they came from Germany.
Yeah.
And they probably all all these families settled in the same neighborhood in Chicago. So the kids kind of grew up together.
It's a German settlement.
And, yeah. And then we think that they probably read in the papers that there was homestead land available in northern Michigan, and they probably took the boat from Chicago up to Charlevoix. And that's just a short ways from,
Where they actually
where
settled.
they actually settled then in Wilson Township, yeah.
In a German settlement in Wilson Township.
Okay.
And they were mostly related, the families who came up there.
Mhm.
Even-
Brothers and sisters
Even
and
Grandpa's
cousins.
mother came along. Grandpa's mother came along,
From Germany.
buried there in the cemetery.
But even among such stout stock, were your parents one of the leaders in the community? Just because they had so many kids and because they were...
Our dad was. He was on the
Okay.
county boards.
Yeah.
He
And
was the justice
And
of
on
the
the
peace.
church board, on the school board.
He was.
Yeah.
he was looked up to by everybody in the
That's what I
neighborhood.
thought.
He was one of the older ones. Older children.
And he accumulated farm machinery, and then all the neighbors would come and borrow his farm machinery, and they'd break it and bring it back, and he'd quietly go ahead and fix it up again and use it when they needed it.
So
He'd
he really
lend it to
lived...
them again. He was a pretty calm man and very kind, Grandpa Bailing.
Wow. And how did you girls relate to him? Was he just kind of far away, or was he very close and fatherly?
There wasn't a lot of affection showed.
No.
But
No.
that's the way the old Germans were. They didn't do a lot of hugging and kissing that I remember. Did they, Bess?
No.
No. But we all always had plenty to eat, big family, and the neighbor kids would all come to our house because that's where the action was. We had lots of action.
And every Saturday when Mom and Papa would go to town to buy groceries, they'd always bring a small bag of candy home for the kids. Even if it was just one piece for each to go around, they'd always bring us candy on the weekend.
So you never felt unloved.
No.
It was a warm home.
We were poor. We were always poor, but everybody else was too, so we didn't know that we were depressed.
I noticed that about kids.
Yeah.
Clueless unless somebody's
And we always had prayers at the table.
Okay.
What was one of the prayers that your father taught you?
Well, at the table we always said the "Come Lord Jesus" one. That was standard.
Our kids still say that. They all do at the table.
I know that.
And our family still does. Carol and David, when we're there, they always say it. They taught Eric.
We were all baptized in the church and confirmed. All went to the church every Sunday morning.
We still go to that church. They've
Yeah.
consolidated with the Boyne City Church now, but that's where we end up. We have a church 6 blocks from the house in Petoskey, but we drive 20 miles to church to go to our own church where we were raised.
All of you kids have stayed Lutheran, all 12. Would that be right?
What was it?
All 12 of you brothers and sisters have stayed with the Lutheran Church?
Yes.
Yes, I think we have. Never thought
Yeah.
of it.
That's kind of remarkable in this day and age.
Now Mary's, they all went someplace
the
else.
children.
They're all different. The children.
Yeah, they go
Yeah.
different places.
They're all different. They all went to a different church.
Why do you suppose that
Even, I
happened?
don't know. Even now, Philip and Carol go to Traverse City to church. Now, can you believe that?
No, the Traverse City man comes to Petoskey, and somebody just told me they've rented the Knights of Columbus Hall or bought
Next
it,
to us?
and that's where they have services now.
Oh, is that right?
I'll bring sugar too.
Oh, that's lovely.
I got all my Christmas.
You take
gifts.
cream in your tea?
I don't drink tea.
No, I'll
You
just,
don't drink tea.
I'm not a tea drinker.
That's all right.
Do you
But
have instant?
I'm sure there's plenty of people
Do you have
here.
instant coffee to the plane?
Oh,
So she's-
it's too late to see
She's
that.
almost back in Denver.
There's
now.
napkins, Cora.
Sure. You had
I
a
hate to
wonderful
see her.
visit, didn't
We
you?
did. We were together for 2 months.
Yeah, that's neat. You guys must really love each other.
Yeah.
Get along.
Thank you, Cora.
Oh, the napkins are in this.
That's all right. No,
Can I help you with the napkins?
Ken?
Sugar in the
There's sugar in the cookies.
This
sugar
is
in the
tea.
cookies.
I have to have them.
Gotta have cookies.
Have to have a little sugar.
Yeah.
And then
Every
we
time
have
I
to have a
visited
spoon.
Grandma, I got
Right
cookies.
here.
Okay.
And she said, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'll stay right here till my dad picks me up.
Well, then there was another option to go down. It was a lot farther, but to go down and through the valley or something, and
It would
very
take another day.
difficult.
So which did she do?
The downside.
A whole extra day?
I guess so.
Wow, did
I don't
anybody else
remember
do
all the
that with
I
her?
don't remember all
There
the
were
details.
3 of them, I think.
But there were about a dozen. I think there were about a dozen kids on the trip, and there was one of her friends was on this trip too. So she wasn't entirely alone.
Well, some of those things really build character.
Hmm.
The hard things.
They do, and Lindsay is always looking for challenges.
Adventure and
And she told Ben and Nancy that she thinks there is so much to learn that she's not going to learn it all in 4 years of college. She's going to need at least 5 because there is so much to learn, and she is so excited about learning.
Who is this?
Lindsay.
Lindsay.
Hmm. She's just so excited about learning everything she can learn. She's a nice little girl.
she's a very nice girl. I'm glad. She always had a sweet spirit.
Hmm. She does
I
have.
knew her when she was really little.
Uh-huh. And their oldest son, Jacob, he graduated a year ago from Arizona State, and he is kind of, he works for Ben and Ready Rock, and they said they were just amazed how he gets up and talks to the people and teaches, about the Ready Rock, and Ben said he thinks back how Jacob did even last summer, I guess, and he said, "Oh, what a change he's made."
Hallelujah. Huh?
Yeah, and Elizabeth said that she went over to the office at Christmas time when she was home. She said, "Jacob, the way he, he's in charge of Ready Rock when Ben's gone there," and she said the way he gives orders, and she said he's just like Ben. He sounds just like Ben, his dad. But he's
grown
learned
up.
so much, and
He's mature.
and he can do so much
He has mature.
that even Ben is just absolutely amazed at him.
That's nice to hear. Yeah,
Proud
I
of their
remember
kids.
Jacob. He was always that kind of kid that was into everything, wasn't he? Kind of precocious.
Well, a little bit, but when those boys turn 14, they start working for the company, and they start out digging ditches. And by the time they're through high school, they have a goal in mind. They know they don't want to dig ditches the rest of their lives. And they're ready to buckle down and learn and get their degree in college and, become part of the organization. That digging ditches is the biggest inspiration for them to get educated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Inspiration isn't the right word. What is it, Beth?
Sounds all right.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that'll work.
Now tell me what you girls remember about Mary and Ted when they.
When they got married and took off?
Yeah, what happened then?
Well, I wasn't around them very much, so I don't know too much about their early life.
They were very hard workers.
You girls,
Did your dad have a lot to say about the young men you guys married, or he was more hands off?
No. No, I think that they were pleased with
Okay.
everybody.
They seem
Ernie
to be.
and Ted and
Mm-hmm.
Ray and
And we never asked them. I mean, I don't know about Cora, but
Well, Ernie
I
did.
just
He
took
called and asked.
I just took Ray home with me
said,
one
"This is
weekend
it."
to meet them, and yeah, that was it. They probably thought I was old enough to know my own mind at that time.
yeah, Grandma was 28 or 29.
Yeah, I think I was 25 when I met Ray, and
Was
They
she
married
that
next
old,
year.
Mary? Was she that
At least
old?
28.
I think so.
Was she? Oh. See, she was so much more grown up than me, and I was still a kid when she was at home. And I always thought she had all the privileges and none of the work, but she had done the work while I was still real little.
Right.
So when she came home, it was more or less on vacation,
Right.
and she didn't have to toe the mark like we did.
Right. All right. Oh, that's interesting.
That was my perspective, Annie.
Now you married
She was married to Ernie.
Ted's brother.
Right, Ernie.
How did you meet Ernie?
Oh, goodness. I
She
know
knew-
him from when I was a little kid.
Was he always so sparkly and happy when he
I
was
think
a boy?
I didn't know him when he was a little
Oh,
boy. See, he
okay.
was 13 years older than me.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So I didn't know him then.
You didn't know him in the Walther League.
I knew him,
You
but
know who he
I
was.
was in Junior Walther League and he was in Senior Walther League.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't in the
And he
same.
didn't look at her, and she didn't look at
No.
him in those
No.
days.
That's not,
No. Why would we?
no. That's quite an age gap when you're
Mm-hmm.
9 and
It is
20
when you're a kid. Yeah. But Louise was the
But
first
she was there
one.
when he needed her.
I
Weren't you?
guess you could say that, yeah.
Yeah.
But Louise was the first one married, and
Were you, Louise? I didn't know
First
that.
one.
You were the first one.
And then Mary
And where did you meet your husband?
in Grand Rapids.
Church or?
My Aunt Harriet was another father's sister,
Okay.
and she nursed Claire's brother. And then, of course, Claire knew her too through that,
Okay.
And then And then Aunt Harriet introduced me to Claire. I went down to Stone Hills to, this is right out of high school practically, and worked for Aunt Harriet on Stone Hills. That was a big, great big mansion.
Estate.
Was that
And-
neat?
Pardon?
Did you enjoy that?
Well, right, it was some work. Got $5 a week
This
those
was
days.
during the Depression years.
Yeah,
Can you imagine?
$5 a week.
Yeah.
New room and board.
Okay.
So I met Claire through Aunt Harriet. She was a nurse. So then we dated over winter, got married the next June in 35.
All
It
right.
was 70 years ago.
70 years ago.
Mhm.
And then they were married in June, and Bess lived in Grand Rapids at the same time and was working. And they came home in November on a weekend. And that weekend, our youngest brother Jim was born. And nobody knew that our mother was going to have a baby. And the girls came home, and he was born that Saturday night,
Did
wasn't
you
he?
think it was wonderful, or did it bother you?
They never talked about
Never
having
talked
babies.
about it.
Never,
No,
it was a different world.
it was just a lot of work for my mother at that point in her life.
Because she was
Everything was hush hush.
Yeah.
those days.
44. Or,
You
She was
didn't
probably
talk about
44,
anything.
wasn't she, or was she 48? Mom,
She was close to 50, I think.
I think she was.
oh.
And
Doesn't
we-
happen very often.
Were you still at home?
I was still at
You were
home. I
still
was
at home.
13.
But I was living in Grand Rapids then. So I didn't see Jim grow up.
Oh.
I didn't either.
And when my mother said that he used to ask her why those people came up to stay with, when, you know, we'd go home for 1 or 2 weekends during the summer, during the whole year.
Who were these people? Who
Yeah,
came?
he didn't know who these people were who came up there to see.
What? Are you guys close now?
Yes.
With Jim?
Yeah.
Yes, we are. Jim has done such a wonderful job, Jim and Marge, remodeling the home where we grew up in.
Okay.
It is just beautiful.
Oh.
And they are so good to us. They invite us over often in the summertime.
See, so that
for-
last baby turned out to be a real blessing.
He is
Yes.
a blessing, yeah.
He was a blessing to our mom too, because he was her right hand in her
For
last
years.
years
Okay.
when she was
I bet.
still living at home there on the farm.
Yeah.
He was the one
And
that
your
helped
father.
with he was the one that helped with the dishes and work that had to be done around the house because the girls are all gone.
But Jim and Marge married
18 and 19.
18, right out of high school.
Wow.
They were married
Right out of
very
high
young.
school.
And then my folks moved off the farm, and they moved. That's when they built the little cabin up at Mary and Ted's, the little cabin down by the lake. And they lived there in the winter, or in the summer, and then they came to Huntington Beach. That's when they started coming to Huntington Beach in the summer. In the winter, I get summers and winters mixed up. So they never lived on the farm after
Yes.
that.
I gotta eat all those now.
You can eat those.
Oh,
Oh,
you gotta eat that one now.
yeah, we'll get them
Well, not too many, honey. Grandma's having us for supper at 5.
ate. Just eat your dessert first.
Where are you going for dinner?
To step to the little
The dining room?
Yeah.
Oh.
Isn't that
Today
nice?
is the first day they're open?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And did you know Dave and Ruth are here?
No,
Yeah.
I knew they were coming, I guess.
We're all going to eat in the dining room tonight.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But you know, after Jim and Marge were married then, and Mary and Ted came to California for the winter, and then my folks came, stayed with them in Huntington Beach, and that's how they eventually got out here to the desert, because they were having problems,
I
and
wondered how that had
and Mary and Ted heard about Healing Waters trailer park down the road here on Dillon, and they made arrangements for our parents to come out here and stay for a while
And use the hot pools.
and use the hot
mineral
pools.
something.
And then we were out here for a winter, and we came out and to visit them. And Ernie and David are the ones that scouted around and found this place here in Sky Valley. and they ended up buying it.
It was for sale.
It was for sale.
And it had
It was-
hot pools on
We
it.
knew that, and
One
it had
pool.
the main. It had the main building over here, what is now the kitchen, dining room, and where the offices are. There were 5 bedrooms with little baths and an open porch, and that's
We
all it
stayed
was
there
here.
actually.
Did you stay there?
When I was a little girl.
And that was years before the park was built even.
How much did they have to give for it back then?
I have no idea. Mary would know if she remembers. But they bought it, and then the partners from the mill, the veneer mill at the Sioux, owned it, bought it together as an investment. And then when Ted's boys decided to build a trailer park out here, there was some swapping of land and so on, and their family took this over. And then Tim and Lloyd Peterson from Huntington Beach started the park, and they built the first 60 spaces here. So, and then it grew from there.
You've been coming ever since, huh?
We put in our mobile home in 1977, so that's 29 years ago, I think. And Bess and Ray came the next year.
He came in 78.
Did
He
it
came
help?
in January of 78.
Did it help your mom and dad?
I think so. I think it did.
Did your mom outlive your dad by a long time? Or?
No.
Our dad outlived our
Your
mother.
dad outlived.
She died at 77, and he was in his 90s.
Oh, wow.
But she was 7 years younger
she
than
was
he
7
too.
years younger, but how long did Papa live after Mama died?
9 years.
They both lived with Mom, with Louise.
Yeah. Up there where Ben lives, you know, in that little house, beside where Cora used to live. That's where Papa and Mama and I.
Well,
No,
You lived in Niles.
we lived in Niles.
First.
We lived in Niles, and Mama
First in
died down
Grand
there
Rapids, First in Grand
in
Rapids,
'67.
and then in Niles.
And then Papa lived 9 years. Then we moved up to Petoskey, where I live now, up there. And we lived there 9 years yet. Papa lived 9 years.
all right.
And he died in '87.
So you
Mom
were
and
there to
six-
help him.
Mama in '67 and Papa in '76.
Okay.
And then after that, then I came out here
Right.
with Mary and Ted.
All right. So you've had this house, Aunt Louise, how long?
Well, in a year or so, I bought this from Mary. She had it,
Okay.
and she bought it from another couple who wanted to sell it. She was just a small, short lady, and she couldn't reach any of the cupboards up there.
Probably not.
Anyway, they sold it. Mary bought it, and
Okay.
I bought it from her.
And it's been home
And
ever
we
since.
worked in the kitchen down
Yeah,
here.
I remember that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
But
sure
all
did.
these years we've gone back and forth every year.
I know.
When did you start doing that?
1977. And if the last 20 years we've been flying back and forth every year. Before that we always drove. And Bess and Ray always drove until
About
maybe
5
5
years
years ago. And then they
ago. And we've been coming out since 78.
Now, who sold you on coming out here?
Oh, we came out to visit the family, and before we left, we bought our mobile.
You were retired then.
We were retired, and it was just nice to be out here and around everybody else. And it was warm, and Ray did not want any more snow. He didn't want to shovel snow in the wintertime, so we
But Bess, on the way out, didn't you stop in Arizona and buy a lot?
did. We were going to settle in Arizona, and then we did put money down on a house, and came out here and forgot about it,
Wow.
and bought our house here before we left.
Yeah.
And they put it up during the summer while we were gone. We came back in October and moved in.
That first year you lived in our little travel trailer. First
Yes.
winter you were here.
And it rained all
Oh.
for the whole month we were here, I think.
Did it?
We were here 3 months, and it rained a good share of that time.
Was that park down behind Mary's at
It
that
was.
time? That's where you lived.
And when the wind blew, we rocked.
Trailer would rock.
Oh.
Yes.
So
But it was fun. We were-
inauspicious start.
Yes, we were younger then, and there was so much to do, and we traveled all around the state, up in Joshua Tree and down to San Diego and up the coast, and saw all there was to see in California.
Just enjoyed it.
Enjoyed it. Now we didn't enjoy traveling that much the last few years.
No, I know. There comes a point.
So do it while you're young
Yeah.
enough to
While
enjoy
you're
it.
young.
No, she should have Aunt Cora tell you about Uncle Ernie and how he died. She doesn't mind.
Of what?
About Uncle Ernie and how he died.
Oh.
How
Well,
many
he
years
was
ago was it?
20 years
20
ago.
years.
He died in '85. And he wasn't feeling good all that summer. And, but we had, a lot of raspberries, and we picked raspberries from dawn till dusk, and he sold them, and a lot of them, everything we couldn't use, and he enjoyed that. But then he wasn't feeling good, and his skin started to turn yellow, and his urine started to turn really dark, and he went to the doctor, and they did some testing. And then on Labor Day weekend, we went to Wisconsin. He was on the board of Thoughts of Faith, the mission organization beaming the gospel into the Ukraine. And when he came back, Ruth was home, and she said, there's a telephone call from Dr. Walkalot. And he says that carrot juice isn't going to cure what you have, and you should go right to the doctor. So he did that, and then they did some testing, and he went in the hospital where they did some real serious testing.
How
They
did
found
you feel about that? Were you afraid at that point?
Yeah, the doctors were sure it was cancer of the liver, and he was in the hospital then for a week because one of the tests they did put him into shock, and he was so sick and put him into shock. But the doctors said he would probably have up to 6 months to live. And so after a week they let him go home, and he lived exactly 1 month from the time he had those tests. But he was praying that the Lord would take him because he couldn't get better. The oncologist wanted to do surgery, but the one doctor, Dr. Lettingham, that Ernie's doctor brought in, Dr. Lettingham was a surgeon, and before they did this testing, and they thought they would be doing surgery, so he brought Dr. Lettingham in. He was a very Christian man. So when they found out what it was, and the oncologist wanted to do surgery, and Dr. Lettingham said, no, this, I'm not going to put him through this because it's not going to do any good. The kind of cancer he has is inoperable. It's not going to do any good. And we will just, take care of him. And he lived only 1 month
And did
after
Uncle
that.
Ernie and you just accept that? Just
Yeah,
totally?
we did.
That's from God.
He went home, and up until the last week, he was up every day and dressed and couldn't eat very much. His stomach was always upset, and that's the way cancer patients are. They can't eat. They lose their appetite. And he got thinner and thinner, and in that month, he probably aged a year every day.
That must
That's
have
the
been
way
hard
it
to
goes.
see.
It's hard, yeah.
Now, how does liver cancer work? It just starts.
Well, it was cancer, I think, in the liver and in the main bile duct, too. And one of the boys asked the doctor what cancer looks like, and he said it's hard. It's like a stone. It is so hard. And I suppose that's how they can tell whether they have it all when they do operate,
Right.
I had never heard that before. Have you?
I never heard that.
That's what he said. So Ernie was very ready to go.
And you had your kids coming over every day that month, or what did everybody do that month?
And
Just-
Ruth was home that fall. She had stayed home
Okay.
too, and
And
so
you
she
had
was
hospice.
home only for the last
The
week.
last
last
week.
week they had to come and help you turn him and do all that in bed.
Yeah, they had to catheterize him
Okay.
because that was the big problem at the end too, and they did that. But I know Ruth and I gave him a shampoo, and he could still shave himself every day. I think with the electric razor, and
Even in bed.
but only the last 5 or 6 days he was bedridden.
Okay, but he wasn't in a coma.
Not at all.
Never.
Not at all.
He just died when he was.
A few days
Okay.
before he died, Dr. Lettingham, the Christian doctor, came to see him, and he sat beside him and talked to him and sang to him, and we played Christian hymns, and at one point Dr. Lettingham said, "I love you, Ernie," and Ernie drifted off, and he woke up and he said, "And I love you too," he told the doctor. He was a wonderful Christian doctor.
He
Makes
must
all
have
the
been.
difference in the
Yeah,
world.
I'm sure.
And I don't know how people handle it who are not Christian. It must be terrible.
And then Cora, did you know he was actually dying like the day of his
Yes,
death?
Dr. Lettingham told us.
Said this is it.
Yeah,
And then you had all your kids come.
they were all there that night.
And it was in the middle of the night.
Hmm.
Did you sing while he was, or what'd you guys do?
We prayed and we released him to the Lord.
Yeah. And then he just.
And Ruth had said, "Father, when you see the angels come, let us know." And right at the last, he tried to talk, and his lips moved, but he couldn't. The sound didn't come out. I think he was telling us
That
he was going. The angels came. Yeah,
Wow. So he didn't have to have medication. Wasn't,
he did have medication,
but he was still coherent. It didn't put him into a.
but they have something they call Brompton's mixture for cancer patients. At least that's what it was at the time. And it was a special mixture that they mixed up in the drugstore. And he had that only the last week. And the first time, Ruth gave it to him, and she got the teaspoons and tablespoons mixed up and gave him a double dose. And he said that was the best night he had had for weeks and weeks. he had such happy dreams, and and he slept so well. But that took care of the pain.
Yeah. Okay. So he had a.
But
pleasant,
that was only the last week.
How wonderful to have Christian family too to walk through that with you.
It was. Now Bess can tell you about Ray's last day.
No, it's too soon.
I thought it might be for you.
Didn't Brother Bob die of practically the same thing?
He did.
Yeah,
Really?
bile duct.
Oh, I'd never heard of that.
But he
Isn't
lived.
it kind of rare?
He
Isn't it?
lived longer. Bob found out during deer hunting season in November, and he lived until the next September. But he had gone to Mexico for treatments, and he had had treatments in several hospitals. But liver and
It's pretty hard.
bile duct
to-
cancer is pretty hard. There isn't much they can do
Even if
for
they
it.
find it soon enough. There's
I know
no-
Bob said to me he was there at the reunion that last summer. And he said, when the doctor tells you there's nothing more they can do for you, then what are you supposed to do?
I know. There's no hope in this world.
Yeah,
He lost so much weight too.
he did.
Cancer patients lose a lot of weight.
Elsa's mom did. She'd gone from being a pretty large lady. She just shrunk down to just nothing.
That's the way Ernie did too. Yeah.
They age a lot too.
Like I said, it was they aged a year and a day. For that Ernie did for that last month.
Was it hardest on Ruth?
It was very hard on her.
I thought that I had heard that. She wasn't ready to have her daddy go.
No. But she was wonderful to him too, and she would take her guitar and sit on the floor in the bedroom and sing to him every day, and he loved that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's neat. Does Louise have a story about her?
I'm out of tape.